welcome to Quilt on Tour. I'm going to show you how I make my English paper piecing hexagons, how I sew the fabric on. I recorded a video on how I cut out the paper using my Cricut Maker, so make sure you check that video out. So I keep all of my little hexagons and the fabric in this little box here, and I got this box at Walmart in the lunch container section, and it works perfect. It holds my fabric that needs to be done and my little ones that are already sewn together. And I usually, if I'm going on a long car ride, I usually take this along, and by long I mean like an hour or more. I'll just grab this and bring it in the car with me. So the first thing you need is your hexagons, your paper hexagons. These are 1 inch, and they measure from along the side. From one point to the other is 1 inch. And I have little squares, and these are 2.5 inch squares. Some people actually cut the fabric into the hexagon shape, but that's too much work, and this works just fine. Doesn't look as pretty on the back, but you're not going to see the back anyways. So let me tell you about the thread that I use. I have green in here for now just so you can see it, but I usually use white. And I have this really thin 60 weight white thread that I actually use as the bobbin thread in my embroidery machine. And a lot of times if I have bobbins that have just a little bit left, this is what I'll use to grab my thread for paper piecing, because I don't really want to put this in my machine when I'm doing a big project, because it'll probably run out halfway through and then I'll get frustrated. So I save these little ones for something like this. I have a pair of little bitty scissors. You don't really need a little pair of bitty scissors, but they're just so darn cute. And they also fit right in my box for when I'm traveling. And I also use a clip, and I got these off of Amazon. And the scissors, and I'll put links down below. I think these were like $8 for 100, and they came in a cute little tin. And I also use a needle threader, because I have a hard time threading these little bitty embroidery needles they're thin and they have a little bitty eye. So sometimes it's really hard for me to get them threaded, so I use a needle threader. So the first thing I do is I take my fabric and my hexagon, and I kind of just eyeball it in the middle, and I fold down one side, and I just clip it to hold it on. And then I take my thread. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I want to show you how to make the quilter's knot. So you take your needle in one hand and your thread in the other hand, and you kind of hold them over top of each other. And you hold, then you grab the thread and the needle with one hand and you wrap it around. The thinner the thread, I usually wrap it around 5 or 6 times. For thicker thread, you only need like 3 or 4 times. And then you pinch it so it's all together, and you push your needle through, all the way through like that. And there's your knot. That's called a quilter's knot. That's the easiest way I've found making a knot. So then you take your hexagon, you have one side clipped down, you fold the other side, and you thread your needle up. And then you just take a couple strands this side and a couple of strands that side and pull it through. And I usually do it twice. And that'll hold it down. And then you turn it and you go to your other side and you fold it down. And at the fold, you just take a couple of strands on this side and push it out to the other side and pull it through. And again, I do it twice. And you just keep going around. just want to take small little bites of the material. And again, you just fold the side down. You want to keep everything flat in there. And you just take a little bite and a little bite from each side and pull it through. And a little bite and pull it through. Then you just fold it down. And you take just a little bite of the material on each side and pull it through. And when you get to the last corner, you just kind of tuck it under like that and pull this one down. So it's kind of folded under like that. And you take a little bite. Then I usually do the two like that, and then I'll come down this way toward the bottom to tie it off. And if you notice, I'm not going through the paper at all. This is all just through the material. And you cut it. And there's your hexagon, ready to go. So let me show you how I sew these together. There's a little trick that I learned that keeps from seeing the thread. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I sew these together. I have one here already that I've sewn into a little flower. It's really cute. So you need 6 of the blue, or whatever color you want your petals to be, or your outer layer to be. And we'll go orange for the middle. So you take your middle piece and you take one of this other petals and you put them right sides together like this, so the edges line up. So you put them right sides together and so the edges match up. Then you take your needle and your thread, and I'm going to do it this direction so you can see. You take a little bit and make sure you don't go through the paper. You just want the material that's right on top of the edge of the paper, and you'll be able to feel with your needle where that is. So you're just going to do like a running stitch, but the only difference is, it's hard to see from this side. So the only difference is I usually pop my needle through like this. So when you do the hoop, or when the thread gets pulled down tight, it's sitting on top of this thread and it kind of keeps it floating above your material, your fabric, so you don't see it when you unfold it as easy, especially if you're using white thread. So let me show you again. You just take a little bit and make sure you don't go through the paper from each side. Pull it through, and before you pull it tight, run your needle through and then pull it tight. Almost like, I mean, I've never given anybody stitches, but when I see it on TV, this is kind of what it looks like. They run the thread through the loop. So you pull it, and then before you pull it tight, put your needle through. And I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just to show you, it's very hard. Well, you can kind of see the green, but when it's tight, it's going to be really hard to see your thread. This is the best way that I found to keep your thread hidden when you're sewing it together. So you do that all the way around down to here, and then you sew on your next one, and you would line up here and here. So let me show you on this one that's already done. So you sew on your bottom, and then you sew up the side, and then you add another piece, same thing. You would sew it along the bottom to the side, all the way around. And when you get your middle piece totally surrounded by other fabric, you can pull out the paper. You don't want to pull out your paper before you get your hexagons all the way sewn around, because then it would be too floppy and you wouldn't be able to sew them together. So I hope this makes sense, and if you have any questions, leave the comments below and I'll try to answer them. But I think they make super cute little flowers, but you can use any design that you want. Don't have to be coordinating even. You can just do a scrappy hexagon quilt and do whatever you want. But these are a lot of fun, especially when you want to keep your hands busy. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.